the Panthers are to be featured in 15 national games.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Armando Velez, and that is Nich Fairbanks, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here is what we're going to discuss on today's Fairbanks Friday edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. The Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly discussed that expansion is likely going to be coming to somewhere in Texas in 2029 as soon as that. But we're also going to discuss the national TV schedule based on which opponents we would have rather have seen the Panthers face. As the Panthers will have multiple opponents on more than one occasion on this national TV schedule. But yeah, Nich, all of a sudden on Wednesday, we had the drop from the NHL and Turner Sports along with Disney/ESPN on the national TV schedule on what was going to be happening this season. I kind of wish that they always announce it along with the actual schedule release. The NBA does it, the NFL does it, but the NHL always waits more than a month after the actual release of it. But yeah, the Panthers are tied with 10th most national TV games. The most is 20 with the Boston Bruins and Pittsburgh Penguins combined, with tied at first with 20 each, and then Washington with 17, New York with 18. Minnesota with 17, Detroit, Chicago with 17, Colorado with 16, and then the Panthers and Vegas Golden Knights are ones with 15. But yeah, this is about the number that I expected. 3 of them are going to be ESPN Plus games, which we'll dig deeper into segment number 2. But yeah, this is kind of what I expected, and to think that they're still up there based on them not making the playoffs last year. What was your reaction when you saw this?
Still happy with the 15 games. Little bit, how should I say? I don't want to say concerned, but I believe that there are some teams that got way too many. There's some teams that didn't get enough, and there's some teams that probably should not have any at all. So, sorry to be so harsh on that, but what have you done for me lately? And are you going to drive ratings? So, are you going to keep us making money so the salary cap can go up so the game can be better? I think right now where the Panthers are at, I think everybody knows they're primed to bounce back. So they want to get the television audience again. Like, hey, these guys were the former Stanley Cup champs. Let's get them back on TV. Let's see what they can do. First game of the season, of course. Got to have that. And then, you have your Tampa Bay games, which we know why they have those as national broadcasts as well. So, to me, it's perfect for them, but other teams, let's dial it back a little bit again, because what have you done for me lately? And, I know you're trying to get star players out there. It doesn't matter. Your team still is not the greatest.
Yeah. And it just goes to show what the agenda is for the NHL to begin with. It's also about trying to promote the game in the US, obviously trying to go off of the momentum of the Team USA winning the gold medal, and just look at 3 teams who don't have national games at all here in the US. Calgary, Ottawa, and Vancouver are 3 teams that don't have any, and then Winnipeg will only have 1. And man, the vibes are also bad in Winnipeg because Connor Hellebuck actually made his trade request public, as it was private for a while. And then teams who are stuck in purgatory, like Nashville, you see Columbus, who have 2 national games, as we don't know what the status of Zach Werenski is going to be when he is contract extension eligible come next year. We know Kirill Marchenko wants out as well, and Adam Fantilli isn't signed, neither yet, at least as at the time of this recording. And I think of some of the teams that might have too many. And obviously they're gonna have this because of legacy and how long they've been in the league. But look at Detroit and Chicago. And listen, the thing is, the NHL is gonna put a Connor Bedardless Chicago Blackhawks team on national TV very early on in the season. And it's going to be another one of those years in the beginning where I feel that they're going to get embarrassed on the national stage. And they're going to be people like you and me who are complaining consistently, why are they on? And we still don't know what's going to happen as a result of Dylan Larkin and his trade request from the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings don't even have a general manager yet.
Yeah, so Chicago was the one that I was alluding to. I understand that Connor Bedard is the one that they're really trying to get the fans in front of to show that he is a superstar. He's a great player and everything, but still he's not gotten the team over the hump where they need to be. He's been injured. So hopefully he, gets better with his shoulder, but Blackhawks haven't done anything really in the last couple of years that I would probably say you guys get more than even 5. Detroit is very intriguing to me. They haven't made the playoffs since Dylan Larkin was there. So we're going on 10 years. What executive made that decision to put them out there unless they're really going for the drama side effect? Are they putting Detroit on there to see what happens to Larkin, or if Larkin just sticks around for whatever reason? Like, they want that story out there. But as far as the play goes, these guys after the Olympic break were 1 or 2 in the conference. They were going to make the playoffs. And then, I think that Roadrunner painted a visage of the path to the playoffs, and like Wild E. Coyote just smacked right into it. So those 2 teams were definitely the ones that I was just like why? So
nice little throwback phrase there with Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. But other teams who have got a lot. Boston, after being a wild card team last year, they got a little better with the trade of JT Peterka, but I still question that center depth right there for the Boston Bruins, and they're going to be relying on young guys who are going to be middling the center, especially in their middle 6, and Elias Lindholm is manning the top line as of right now, at least the projections for the Boston Bruins. New York, Madison Square Garden, you're always going to have that, so I kind of get it. But here's one team that is a big surprise as far as a lot of games. I know they were a playoff team. I know they won a series, but even the general manager said that they were going to take a step back, maybe because they were ahead of schedule. The Philadelphia Flyers with 19 of them. But I love what they have: Matvei Michkov, Porter Martone, and then Dan Vladar, who was and Joseph Wall. It's a 1A, 1B tandem now that they have in Philadelphia. So surprised, but I do still expect the Philadelphia Flyers to take like another step. And then one who I'm surprised with that doesn't have a lot is the Anaheim Ducks. I know that they had probably the worst offseason of everybody based on the offer sheet situation. Cutter Gauthier is still not signed. But I still feel 7 is still a little too low for Anaheim.
I do too. And this is one of the teams that the NHL has been successful in at least prodding up to show that hockey does work in the lower 50 states, or at least in warm areas. And the team is not too bad. They have the pieces there to definitely, make a run. But as you said, they did lose some pieces over the summer that, they're going to lose some grit. I don't know why they who did they trade? Zellweger?
To Buffalo.
I don't know why. Maybe because they didn't want to pay him. But I know that the Panthers probably could have used a guy like that. And I don't see how you're trying to grow the game in these areas that Batman has definitely put more emphasis on or tried to help out by cutting out games from the teams that are in those areas. You know what I mean? Yeah. So some things don't make sense. Maybe backroom deals are happening like, hey, listen, we don't want that many games, or we don't think that they're going to show well, so we're going to skip a lot of your games.
Yeah. And real quick, the two that I was also surprised with. St. Louis getting 11, where Biddington's in the final year of the deal. They traded Jordan Kyrou. They got Connor McMichael in the deal. Mason McTavish is going to be a reclamation project in St. Louis this year, but I feel like they're going to be possibly picking the top 5 this year. And also San Jose, I feel like they're too low.
Yeah.
Of the last 5 drafts, if there's one player who would you would say generational out of all of them, Slavkovsky is great. Yeah, Connor Bedard. But as far as like full takeover, as far as like being that much of a needle mover, Macklin Celebrini is it, and I'm surprised that they were that low at 11.
And that's the biggest crime,
Mhm.
unfortunately. Like, understand that they want to make an original 16 like the Blackhawks and also like the Detroit Red Wings, that you said, like these legacy teams, that you want to make sure that people are still tuned into that. But they need to show more of the people who have actually already moved the needle.
Mhm.
You have the Celebrinis and everything. A name that I wouldn't have put out there earlier, maybe even Jason Robertson, because he's taking a deal hoping to either re-sign next year or get an even bigger contract when the cap goes up. So you have these younger guys that do show that they make a difference, and yet the NHL is either scared to put them on, or they're just waiting for the right moment for the you know strike the hot pan,
Yeah,
if that
and
makes
with
sense.
yeah, with San Jose being the Pacific Division, I really expect them to take really truly that next step, and possibly be in the playoffs. And hey, maybe they'll get up to 15 come next year. But we're going to transition to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss the Panthers' national TV schedule. And there's a lot of teams that the Panthers are going to see twice on the national stage. Who would we replace those with? We'll discuss that next year on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. And when workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire, Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and locations. So less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the right fit. People who find quality hires on Indeed right now, in the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. And spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes, less stress, time, and more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of the show will get the $75 sponsored job credit to get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Indeed.com/podcast right now to support our show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Segment number 2 here on this Friday, August 28th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Armando Velez here with Nich Fairbanks once again on this Fairbanks Friday edition of the show. So the Panthers have their national televised games, 12 of them on cable, and then 3 of them are going to be on streaming, ESPN Plus exclusive. So if you take 6 Tuesday games, 4 Thursday on the national stage, 3 of them Wednesdays, and 1 Saturday and 1 Sunday. What I like, though, is that they're getting the streaming exclusive ones on ESPN Plus out of the way and in the same week, when they will be at Columbus and then home against Detroit. So you'll have more of those national games after the Super Bowl, where they'll fill in more of the spots on the Thursdays, along with some Saturdays and Sundays, and then March Madness. When March Madness ends, you'll definitely see a lot more of those ABC Saturday afternoon, and then those TNT triple headers. It's funny because the moment I saw 4:30 at New Jersey,
Yeah.
on the schedule, I said, okay, that's probably going to be the TNT triple header, because the Panthers had something similar like that in 2025 in Detroit, but they decided to rest all their players to get ready for the playoffs right before that. One of the least memorable games in most recent memory. But obviously, we already knew the Carolina game to start the season, but then they're going to have another one very soon after. And here's also the great thing, Nick. At least once a month, the Florida Panthers will be featured. So there won't be a whole 2-month hiatus of the Panthers not being right in the front of NHL fans' TV screens.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is, since the winning cultures come in, they've brought in different players that have kind of changed the dynamic and really helped the locker room. You're going to see consistent teams on TV. And luckily, Florida's been that for the last couple of years. I think it's great that the first game of the season is going to be nationally televised. I can't wait for that, just saying. And then you get another game a week later, and it's out in LA. So they're getting their Western trip out of the way early. So you're going to get you're going to get an early peak at what this team is and exactly how they're going to be able to maneuver through the season, especially against a team. One, Carolina, they want to make a statement to remind everybody that they're back. And then secondly, against a team in LA that they don't usually historically play well against, and they play a very late, game out there. So it's hard for people to stay up during that time, especially on the East Coast. But I think out of all the games that I have questions about are the ones that you're going to play twice on national television. Now, it might be a ratings thing, or they just want to get certain areas actually featured multiple times.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, the Panthers in Los Angeles, they have an opportunity to be on a on a on a little bit of a winning streak, because they were on a long losing streak that ended just last year in Los Angeles. So hey, maybe that this could be the start of some of good juju at the crypt over there in Los Angeles. But yeah, there's a few teams that the Panthers will be playing multiple times on national TV. One of them are the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then the Pittsburgh Penguins, once at home, and I believe once on both of them will be at home. Excuse me. Those Pittsburgh games, one on ESPN, both of them on ESPN, and then the New York Rangers once on TNT, and then a Saturday early matinee at 12:30 at the Garden on April 3rd. It's funny because looking at this, I was just kind of discussing who are the teams that we rather see the Panthers in if you were to replace at least one of those games, and then a few teams that we would at least want the Panthers to be on the national stage. Obviously Sidney Crosby, you're going to put him on TV screens. I mean, him and Alexander Ovechkin together just saved the league post 04-05 lockout. But no games against the Washington Capitals. And it's so funny looking at the calendar because two of them are in November. One of them, and obviously that on the November 7th, which is a Saturday, college football, and then another one is Black Friday, and then February 3rd, that's a TNT day where they have Bolton Flyers in that slot. We mentioned San Jose earlier, but that's an ESPN's Plus day on October 1st, and then there's only two early TNT games on that Sunday after the Super Bowl. So right now, I have two teams that I have. San Jose and Washington are two teams that I wish that the Panthers would at least have had a game on the national stage against. Any other teams that you? I have more on my list, but I want to give the floor to you before I take the ball back or the puck.
Yeah. Oh man. I was gonna say I definitely would have to say Macklin Celebrini, who we talked about. Like, let's show one of the best young players against one of the best teams, and how does he stack up, or how does he figure things out? I think that would be a great chess match. The only other team that I think would probably actually be anything that would be entertaining. Oh boy. I'm trying to think of previous playoff matchups. I mean, why is Toronto not on here?
Yeah,
that's my question.
Toronto only has 3 in the U.S. 3 national games in the U.S. This year. So
I just want to see Bob. I just want to see Bob and see whether it's at home or up in Canada. I just want to see what that is on a national broadcast.
It's funny because that Bob Bobrovsky's return on March 6th. There are games in the beginning of the day of ABC doubleheader in the beginning, but the NHL will not put the Toronto Maple Leafs in an afternoon slot. They're not going to do that. And obviously, there's still what's going to be happening with Hockey Night in Canada with CBC and the contract ending there. So, but still, you're not going to take them out of that slot, whether they're home on the road. Even when they're on the West Coast in Vancouver or LA, they won't even make them play at 10 p.m. They're going to make the home team have a 4 p.m. puck drop. Just so that the East Coasters can still stay up and watch the Leafs. So that's another thing. Colorado is a game where I wish that the Panthers had a national game against. There's one game on a Friday, but the NHL does not like putting games to begin with on a Friday, let alone a national game. So I kind of understand that. And on Saturday, February 27th, there's only one national game. That's Bruins Red Wings. But I know some of you might ask possibly why isn't Brady Tkachuk's return to Ottawa a national game? that would be more of a national game in Canada more than it is here, as far as the storyline and the hate and the narrative that's around Brady Tkachuk about being a quote unquote coward and taking the easy way out. So a lot of eyeballs will be outside of Ottawa fans in Canada, but I'm not sure as much here in the US outside of Florida Panther fans.
No, and from a US standpoint, I don't think it would move a lot, to be honest. Brady got his way. He was able to be moved to a team that he wanted to go to. He was able to get out of Canada. So if anything, everything's all good on the US side if you were to talk to anybody. Now, if you go talk to anybody up in Canada right now, I don't think that anybody's happy with them. They understand it, but as far as how everything's gone since the gold medal game and the politics between both countries that we won't get into, it's been very
tense.
Yeah, thank you. Forget my words sometimes. It's been very tense. So on the United States side, there's not a story. We brought one of them home. Maybe Hellebuck will be the next one, but at the end of the day, Canada is going to do what they need to do to drive people to watch their games.
No doubt. Thankfully, the Panthers will have a game against the Vegas Golden Knights, although I do believe that they're going to take a little bit of a regression due to losing guys like Pavel Dorofeyev this offseason. They'll have a game against a Stanley Cup contender in Minnesota. Obviously, they'll have a return of Brad Marchand if he's healthy come December at least, but no Stanley Cup rematch as far as national stage against the Edmonton Oilers. So that one was a little shocking to me when I saw that. But yeah, who knows? Based on where teams are at, based on the season, the NHL can choose to take teams in and out, and we'll possibly see the Florida Panthers get added on later on in the season. So 15 is not necessarily set in stone for the Cats as far as their national games. But earlier in the week, Bill Daly did discuss that the NHL is looking to expand to Texas, and it could come as early as 2029. What will that mean? And what could that mean more like for the Florida Panthers when that time does come? And let's look into the future. We'll discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Odoo. And running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sale, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform, from sales and accounting and inventory to marketing. Everything works in one place. Odoo is one platform to manage, grow, and scale your business. And for Odoo, sometimes you need to put certain pieces together, and sometimes they might not collaborate well if they are separate. So Odoo is a perfect place to put all of it together in one. So great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Odoo is one platform to manage, grow, and scale your business. Try for free at odoo.com/locked-on. That's odoo.com/locked-on. Segment number 3 here on this Friday, August 28th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Armando Velez here with Nich Fairbanks for another edition of Fairbanks Friday. So Bill Daly went public discussing, and the NHL is very strategic when it comes to actually talking about things. And now there looks to be a little bit of momentum as far as more expansion. And the logic is there are 32 teams in the National Hockey League, but only 25 of them, and I say only, are in U.S. markets. So they look at the rest of the markets in the U.S. and look saying, hey, we want to expand there. Obviously, Arizona had a team relocated recently, so we know that the NHL is going to try to expand there. There was actually an approval for the county northeast of Atlanta. I forget the name of building a 20,000 seat stadium over there to try to expand, but that probably won't come until maybe like the mid 2030s. But Bill Daly did discuss that there's a possibility of expansion in Texas, either in Austin or Houston. My gut says that it's going to be Houston because there's already an arena in Houston where the Rockets play, and possibly the Fertitta family is one that could who could pay the expansion fee and get a team there. And also they have history there with the WHA as well over there. So Houston is probably gonna, and it's the top 5. It's a top 5 media market in the U.S. So it makes sense to go there as opposed to Austin. And it's further away. It's further away from Dallas, so it's not interfering with anything regional. But from Florida Panthers perspective, Nick, I'm looking at the clauses that they have, because with the expansion list rules, anyone on a no move clause is automatic on your expansion protection list unless asked to waive. So as of right now, the Panthers, you could either have a expansion protection list of 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goaltender, or you can do 8 skaters and 1 goalie, but you lose that extra spot. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. 6 guys right now have no move clauses. You're gonna add a 7th in Brady Tkachuk when the Panthers do extend him. But here's 2 guys who don't have who aren't on the protection list right now for the Panthers, and those are Alexander Barkov, 16-team no trade, and Anton Lundell, who doesn't have any trade protections. So let's look into the future a little bit. So before I provide the solution on what the Panthers could do 3 years from now, looking at this, Bill Zito has to be very strategic about it. By the way, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah. So we were talking pre-show that, we do think that Bill Zito will be able to, do another another expansion draft. I mean, who'd they give up? Drager?
Yeah, Chris Drieger. And he was a UFA, so it didn't really affect them. We knew he was gone.
Exactly. So what is to come, I guess, in 2029, and what is going to be more important to the Florida Panthers? Is it going to be cap space? Is it going to be, hey, we're trying to be flexible, we have younger guys that we want to bring in after how many first rounders that we've traded away? And it's also going to come back to, where's the window? I mean, you and I expect the window to be open until those contracts expire in 2030 or 2031. So it really is going to be how the team is and where they're at and what they're going to be able to afford, or at least what they're able to give up. Do I like the fact that Barkov's name is in there? No, not at all. He should never leave Florida. And as much as I hate to say it, Lundell, he may have to be a casualty unless other things happen. So forward thinking, maybe Bill Zito finds an option for him, maybe to go elsewhere before the expansion draft and lose him for nothing.
Yeah. And right now it's 6 guys who have no move clauses, but Brady Tkachuk would be the 7th. So you would be capped out at that number. But there, strategically, I do believe that the Panthers could find a way to still put Barkov and Anton Lundell on those lists, because I look at where guys are as far as like age towards the end of their deals, and maybe they convince them to waive because, hey, this team is not going to be Vegas Golden Knights and good immediately. So you might not be needed on that team for that. I mean, I believe Carey Price waived his no move clause for the expansion draft in Seattle, and he never got picked up. So Brad Marchand, they could go up to Brad Marchand and say, hey, you're in your 40s. You're going to be 41 by the time this expansion draft comes. We want to keep Anton Lundell in this mix. Would you waive for the expansion draft for Texas? And chances are you're not going to, because you will still have 2 years left on your deal. And I don't know if that team would want it. But here's also the thing. There's 4 defensemen right now for the Florida Panthers who have trade protection. And so you had to put 3 of them on there. So you could so that doesn't necessarily move the needle for the Panthers in this. So you would need 1 more forward to waive. And we've talked about this multiple times when the extension kicked in, when the Panthers officially signed it, in Sam Bennett, that So for the Panthers and Sam Bennett, his clause doesn't change to a partial one until the very next year. And there'll be a few years left. He'll be closer to 35. So the Panthers find a way to convince Sam Bennett to also waive, probably knowing that his future past 2030 probably won't be with the Florida Panthers. And that's a way that they could keep Anton Lundell into the mix.
Yeah, and that's another way to look at it too is, when eventually is Lundell going to be the second line center? I'm expecting it hopefully to be this year or into next year with how he performed last year and took on extra responsibilities. But I think the way that you've put it makes sense. It's asking guys who kind of do have that availability to say, hey, I'm here to do this for this team. Yeah, I'll waive. But at the same time, doesn't, like, for example, I think Aaron Ekblad has a no move, right? Or he's got a modified?
Aaron Ekblad has a no. Yeah, he has a no move until it'll be after. It doesn't become a partial until 2031.
Okay, so that might be somebody I might ask. Just say, hey, is this something that you would be interested in? We're not expecting them to take you at your age. And then also, secondly, maybe they just want somebody younger and who can skate quicker. But those would probably be the people that I would go to first and just say, hey, can you help us out?
Yeah. And that would matter more if they go the 8 skaters and 1 goalie for Aaron Ekblad, because then you would have to separate. You wouldn't have to separate forward and defenseman in that case. But if those rules still apply, then and if they maybe they add 1 more player and they said it could be 8 forwards and 4 defensemen, then the Panthers won't have to do anything there. Yeah. So it just depends once again where the window is for the Florida Panthers. And if they're even contending, because they're going to get older, they're going to get slower eventually. And Anton Lundell, as far as the forwards for the Panthers, he is that guy that you want to at least lead the way. And Paul Maurice talked about him being a future captain of this group. That matters as far as keeping it and not going towards the bottom of the barrel. And hopefully they continue this. We expect the window to be from now until 2030, but you just never know based on players. But also entry-level contracts are exempt from expansion protection list. Maybe it could be Sandis Vilmanis is the guy that gets claimed. His UFA year won't be until after. But here's also the thing about the Anton Lundell extension after the first Stanley Cup. His UFA year is 2028. So I'm just thinking, man, after that extension, you would have thought maybe after 2028 you could have added clauses, because even if someone extends outside of the after the entry level deal, you can't put clauses until after their official UFA year. So if there's one thing I would do, it's not that I'm angry at Bill Zito, but if there's one thing I'm looking back on, if there's one thing that Bill Zito probably would have thought maybe differently, to add those clauses to at least the last 2 years of his contract.
I mean, I would have made sure that was one of the first things I put on the contract, but I'm not Bill Zito. But I think, as we've talked about in previous shows about no move clauses or the NHL having the most out of any sport, to me, it makes sense. You want to make sure guys are protected and they don't have to keep moving their family back and forth. It's a big process. I know other sports have way less, but I think with hockey being the grind that it is, I think they had to show some faith towards the players, which the owners had to give up some of that power or some of that strength that they had on their side. So can understand that completely. Unfortunately, right now it is kind of mucking things up, but that's kind of what you expect. There's going to be a push and pull, or a pull and tug kind of action with that. So, when it comes to Lundell's contract extension, hopefully Zito will, definitely either put that in there in bold letters saying, hey, this is the first line of the contract, no move clause. And then, hopefully they have to look into somebody else.
Yeah, and you know what's the great thing about the Players Association and the NHL right now, that they got an extension done a year ahead in advance. That usually never happens, and that there is peace between the two sides. The next CBA expiration, which I just checked, will not be until 2030. So this is going to be something that is going to be continuing until that expires in 4 years. So yeah, it's something that we're just gonna have to deal with now. So we'll see what if they continue the same expansion rules that we saw from the most recent Seattle and Vegas expansion drafts. But yeah, this is the way look ahead of what the Panthers could possibly do in order to keep a very important core player on their team who doesn't have trade protection. But Nich, I want to thank you so much for joining me on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. And listeners, I want to thank you guys for watching and listening this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. If you want to follow me on X, you can follow me at MondoMan12. If you want to follow Nich on X, you can follow him at Prudentia0. Nich, any final words before we sign off on the day?
It's just proven fact that the players are making more money. They'd be happy, and the owners are making more money. So both sides are happy. Let's keep this going. And Papa Lundell, we'll do anything and everything we can to make sure you stay a Florida Panther.
No doubt. Thankfully, at least 3 years minimum that he will remain here, but hopefully it's more. And Panther fans, 32 days until opening night from the time of the release of this episode. And yeah, we'll be back with you guys next week to discuss more on Florida Panthers hockey, as next week it'll be September, which means hockey month, and we are one step closer to training camp. So thank you guys as always for listening and watching here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.